true, Tiberius? Is it true some of the world's greatest boxers and MMA legends have used NoFap and Retention to achieve greatness?
Excellent question, Legionnaire Gabriel. NoFap and Retention are very powerful strategies many of the world's most famous fighters have used to give themselves the ultimate edge in battle. It's not all that well known, but some of the most famous and most powerful fighters to ever walk this earth have learned to master their urges to transmute their energy into a competitive edge for fighting and success. You see, boxing and MMA are some of the most risky sports a man can undertake in the modern age. It's one of the few sports where two men enter an arena with the intention of physically damaging the other man, sometimes to the point of unconsciousness. It's a dangerous and daring sport, but for some, the taste of glory and the desire to be the champion is what makes the risk worth it. And because of the risk involved, fighters who don't take their preparation and training seriously are putting themselves and their future in danger. And this is why many fighters of the past and of the present today utilize both NoFap and Retention as a critical part of their strategy to maximize their performance. You see, NoFap is the practice of avoiding the PMO process, and Retention is the ultimate practice of retaining and conserving vital reproductive energy for a specified amount of time. Ultimately, retention means no sex, no fapping, nothing. You are purposely saving your reproductive release to gain energy and vigor. Generally, those who are on a retention cycle are by default on NoFap if they are not browsing online fapping websites. Every time these fighters enter the arena, they want to be competing at maximum speed, maximum strength, maximum mental focus, and with a maximum hunger to win. The period of retention for many builds up the fire, it builds up the hunger, it builds up the motivation, and it builds up the strength. And sometimes it can be the smallest changes in training and preparation that can ultimately decide which fighter ends up winning and which one ends up losing. The other important thing to understand is that each fighter's body is different, so many of them deploy different strategies that include NoFap and Retention. The particular strategies and duration of retention are what these fighters find most optimal for themselves. Some fighters use shorter periods of retention streaks, such as 7 days, to get those quick testosterone spikes, while for others, they find they are much stronger and more focused on retention streaks that can go on for several months or even indefinitely for years. The real point of this is to show you that NoFap and Retention are powerful strategies you can utilize yourself to maximize your physical strength and mental focus. In the 1990s, Rickson Gracie was considered to be one of the toughest MMA fighters in the world. He was part of the famous Gracie family, which included the world-famous Royce Gracie. Rickson Gracie practiced NoFap and Retention to give himself the edge in his tough fights against other men. This is what Rickson Gracie, one of the most powerful MMA fighters, had to say about retention before going into a fight.
I behave very good, I don't disturb.
Oh yeah, definitely. No sex.
Is that true, like a fighter?
Always.
It's famous.
In the Gracie family, always before the fight.
Yeah, because
Long time.
by having sex, you waste a lot of energy. I mean, the vital energy in your body goes away. I mean, it's normal. It's something we normally do, and there's no problem at all. But if you want to accumulate energy, get full energy, you cannot waste. Like, how important is keep the vital energy, It's so much more energy if you. So I try to keep myself away from sex at least 2 weeks before the fight.
How's your vital energy?
100%. Kind of about to explode.
Daniel Cormier is a current world-class MMA fighter who has risen to the highest ranks in his field. He has competed in the Olympics and has held both the heavyweight and light heavyweight world championships simultaneously in the UFC.
DC, tonight you became the first man to ever defend both the light heavyweight and the heavyweight title. Hey, it's history! victory, baby!
When speaking about retention and his pre-fight strategy, Daniel Cormier has said, "I truly do believe that as humans, when you are starving and you are hungry and you abstain from sex, it builds something inside of you that makes you want to go and pursue and get those things and get through the next man that's blocking me. It will blast through that person to get to the monument, and I do that because of that." Hunger and retention. Cormier alludes to the fact he feels more powerful and stronger when he goes into a hunger and retention driven cycle before a fight. Winky Wright is a well-known ex-professional American boxer who was the two-time light middleweight champion of the world. He had a formidable professional record of 51 wins and only 6 losses. He was a quick and powerful opponent to come against in the boxing ring. The powerful boxer Winky Wright was also a massive fan of retention. When asked what the hardest thing to do when preparing for a fight, Winky Wright replied, "The hardest thing is definitely the women. Different people do different things. Me, I like to go 1 month without it. It brings the beast out of you. You know, after you have sex, the first thing you want to do is go to sleep. You want to rest. And that's why you don't do that during training. You want to get up. You want to train. You want to run 5-6 miles. You gotta box. You gotta jump rope. So if you have sex, it takes away your legs. So a lot of people tend not to do that for a certain amount of time. David Haye, also known as the Haymaker, is a professional elite boxer who held multiple world championships in 2 weight classes. He has a record of 28 professional wins with only 4 losses. David Haye was an absolute professional when it came to his training and preparation for a fight. David Haye's strict preparation before a fight helped maximize his performance and power to aid him in victory. When discussing using the retention strategy, the Haymaker said, "I don't ejaculate for 6 weeks before the fight. No sex, no masturbation, no nothing. It releases too much tension. It releases a lot of minerals and nutrients that your body needs, and it releases them cheaply. Releasing weakens the knees and your legs. Find a lion that hasn't had food for a while and you've got a dangerous cat. Even in my sleep, if there are all girls all over me in my dream, I say to them, I've got a fight next week. I can't do anything. I can't do it. That's control. I've been doing that since I was 15, and it's part and parcel of my preparation now. That's why I am who I am today. It's down to all those little sacrifices. Find me another boxer who makes that sacrifice, and you'll find another champion." Leon Edwards is another elite MMA athlete who is a practicer of the retention strategy. Currently, Leon Edwards is ranked number 4 in the UFC's welterweight division. He has said that about 14 to 21 days before an important fight, he will enter into a retention cycle and abstain from sex to maximize his chances of success in the fighting arena. Leon Edwards also said that he notices a strong difference in his gym performance before and after a retention cycle is broken. This can be interpreted as a fact he may feel a lot stronger and more powerful when undertaking the retention and NoFap journey. Luke Rockhold is an elite MMA fighter and the former UFC middleweight champion, and has also won the Strikeforce middleweight championship. He has used retention as a part of his training preparation to maximize his performance in the fighting arena. He has known to start a retention cycle 6 weeks before fighting, where he abstains from sexual release. Manny Pacquiao is regarded as one of the greatest professional boxers of all time. Pacquiao has won an astounding list of boxing championships, and in 2015, he was the 2nd highest paid athlete in the world. Pacquiao is another boxing great who's utilized the powers of retention. When interviewed, his wife stated that Pacquiao will abstain from sex 21 days before a fight. Obviously, Pacquiao sees a great deal of benefits by entering this retention cycle to give him the best chances of winning the fight. Iron Mike Tyson is arguably one of the world's most famous and powerful boxers in history. For a long time, he reigned as the undisputed world heavyweight champion. Mike Tyson was well known for his ability to knock down opponents much bigger and taller than himself. Mike Tyson was an opponent many men feared when facing in the arena. And one of Mike Tyson's most powerful methods to invigorate himself with as much energy and power was to practice retention like a warrior. When Mike Tyson was young, he found out that many other boxers were practicing retention to give them an edge in their fights, so he joined in too. He began building up much of his energy through retention, which would also help him focus purely on training and fighting. It helped light up the pathway to becoming the world's youngest heavyweight boxing champion at only 20 years old. When speaking about women and retention, he would say, "I never knew that conquering so many women takes so much from you more than adds so much to you. I always read that the greatest fighters never had sex before fights, and I was a young kid and I wanted to be the youngest heavyweight champion in the world. So I restrained myself from sex for around 5 years." Mike Tyson's epic retention streak equated to 1,825 days of retention and NoFap. He used his natural retention to give himself the ultimate powerful boost to achieve greatness. And during this time, he ended up becoming the boxing champion of the world. Muhammad Ali has gone down in the history books as one of the greatest boxing champions of all time. Muhammad Ali was renowned for his self-control and discipline. It is also known in the boxing community that Muhammad Ali was a great practicer of the NoFap retention strategy. But what's really interesting about Muhammad Ali is that the Olympic boxing coach, Haye knew he was going to be a champion before he even got there. Before his name change, Muhammad Ali was known as Cassius Clay. And this is what Haye, the Olympic boxing coach, predicted about Muhammad Ali's rise to glory. He said, "There's a kid that has just come down here named Cassius Clay. If you bet on him every time he fights, you'll be a rich man, because he won't lose a single fight. I believe his thing is sexual control, and he's got it. Any kid who can control it can win the title. I believe it." The important takeaway from all this is that every single fighter and boxer we've talked about here were men in their primes who have risen to world-class levels. They are men who have had the option of getting any number of women as much as they wanted, but they chose not to. They chose to utilize retention to help them focus and build strength to ultimately achieve their goal of championship glory. They saw NoFap retention as a way to make themselves become great. These men chose to become boxing and fighting champions. But the great thing about NoFap and retention is you can put that same exact energy gained from it into any other positive and glorious path yourself. And what goals or successes you want to achieve with the energy is totally up to you. So use this as inspiration to become great. If any Legionnaire wants to be featured in the next match, leave the Roman phrase ad infinitum in the comments below. And for now, let's toast to victory! To victory! To victory! To victory! To victory!